Okay, here we are back. Been working some, so excuse me if I'm out of breath. I'm back. I've just about got all my floor joist and the rim joist in. I want to show you what I've done and maybe show you a little bit of the detail of how I did it. But you can see the double joist. This one, there's a joint in the plywood floor, subfloor right here. My short joist is here, and it just goes back under here a little ways. This one was rotted particularly bad. Even the plywood there is a little bad, but it'll be all right. This is all going to get new linoleum on it, or laminate floor, whatever I decide to do. But this is the long joist, and it goes back in here to about right here. So you can see what I meant by reinforcing. Both of these will get screwed down. I'll put screws through the plywood into both of these, and that will help hold the outer end up, keep it from sagging. And then I'll screw these together. I may not put very many screws, 2 or 3 screws through these to hold them together. And I know a lot of people would not have done this. A lot of people would have just put these short joists in, like this one. You can't see it, but this one ends right here at the end of the plywood. And with this, the metal frame of the trailer being right there, running this way, you can see that this wall would have leverage pushing down. And to me, that's just no way to do something. It's just inviting the floor and my plywood, my new plywood. Now, if he was going to put a whole sheet of plywood on here, that would be okay, because the plywood itself would hold these down some. But I just think this is better. And with this being the trailer wall with the door on it, and this corner, as I said before, this corner right there, that's the metal on the front of the trailer. And the water, as I'd said before, I think had come in through the molding trim that follows this angle down to there and then angles back this way. I think the water had come in here and had followed along this joist, and the one that I replaced, and rotted it. And you see that in there, that's okay. It's solid enough to work. If you redid all this, you may as well tear the whole top of the trailer. You may as well take the whole body of the trailer off and redo the whole floor. And even to me, I mean, that just gets ridiculous. It's going to be real expensive, and the trailer would never be worth what you would have in it, or anywhere close to it. It's not an Airstream. But so anyway, you can see what I've done. Both of these, I'll show you in a minute, are screwed from the outside through the rim joist into that end of the floor joist. Now these are still loose back here. I won't do that until I'm ready to lock it down, because when I get ready to lock it down, I'll start putting screws in here and fasten all this down. But you can see probably. See, I can stand. And you see, there's a little bit. It's not really give, but all 200 pounds of me, I can stand out here on the end of these floor joists and they're good and strong. It's good and strong. And unless I rebuild, you can't see it over here on this side. There's a little booth type seat, and originally there was one, I think, on this side that probably came out to about here. So it was two bench seats facing each other, and then your table, you can't see that either, I don't think, but your table hinged and latched here, and when you wanted to take it down, you just dropped it down onto some braces on top of these two benches, and then you turned it into a bed. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this GoPro loose and take it outside and show you what I've done outside, how I did the screws. And just to note, I'm hoping I'm not going to have a big problem. You can see that this is fairly close on top of that new rim joist I put down. The only place there's a real gap is out there. But now this and this stud wall has to come up enough to put my new piece of 5/8 inch plywood. It's got to go on top of here and under this one. So I'm going to have to raise, that whole wall is going to have to come up 5/8 of an inch in order for me to get that new piece of plywood under the stud wall. Now, we'll deal with that when we get to it. Let me unclamp the GoPro here. And I'll take this out and try to hold it steady enough to show you what I want to show you. Now I did these pretty much all the same. You can see I use this, it's a kind of a special pair of vice grips to hold the top of the joist flush with the top of the rim joist, because that all needs to be nice and even, because the plywood is going to come out all the way, come out all the way on here, all the way to the outside. So you want this all nice and even. And so I use these to clamp that and hold it, and I put 2 screws at an angle into the end of each one. You can see I haven't done that one yet. I set this one up and got it clamped just so you can see how I clamped it. And I've got to do that one, and then this one, and then a couple of more back to the left. There's only a couple. There was more to the right. But anyway, you can see there what I've done. And these are 3-inch screws, and so you can see about how far they go into the floor joist, with 2 of them in each one, and then these screwed together, and the plywood on top of it all and everything. I think this might be stronger than it was from the factory when I'm done. And but that's what I've done so far, and just wanted to show you some of the details so you'd have a better idea of exactly what I've done. And by the way, these panels on this trailer, normally they would go the other way, I think, but these normally, like when you're doing vinyl siding on a house, your first run of siding will be at the bottom, and you keep locking them in and going up. On this travel trailer, and I don't know if they're all the same, but the panels actually start at the top and come down. And you can see on this one, see there's a lip here. And this top edge of that panel, this is the inside. This top edge will fit up in there. I ain't gonna struggle, there you go. It fits up in there, and then you fasten the bottom edge to your floor joist. To your wall studs. And then you put the bottom piece on, which is right there. And that made it really handy to be able to see what I'm doing through the wall, to clamp the pieces down like I showed you, and that made it really easy. And I thought I was going to have to take all the siding off, and that would have been a lot more work, partly because I have to do something then to keep it from getting wet when it rains. So that worked out much to my benefit. And another thing I have to do, this is a little aside maybe, but the Norcold RV refrigerator I got to go in here is too wide to go through this door. And I hope I'm holding this thing steady enough. So I've got to take the door frame out anyway, because as I showed you in an earlier video, I've got to replace maybe the bottom 2 feet on each side to replace the rotted door framing. And so I've got to take that door frame out anyway. And once it's out, let me show you behind it here. You can see this is part of the door framing, and that one's already loose. I thought I was going to have to cut my metal back or bend it back to get the refrigerator in, and then try to straighten my siding metal back out. Oh, pardon me, I hear a car or something out on the road. But as it turns out, because these come off, as I said, these come off from the bottom, all I have to do is I will take this one more piece loose under the window, because I'm going to take the window out anyway. The inside's already out. I'm going to take the outside out also, and partly just to clean up around it and then reseal good around it when I put it back in. So since I'm going to have the window out, now I'll take this other panel off, and then because I'm going to be cutting out this door frame, which this and another one like it right behind here, that's all that's there behind this door, the door frame. So I take the door out, take this off, cut these off up here to about here. Then I can bring my refrigerator over, because there won't be anything there. Plus this bottom, you can see it's rotted. I'm going to cut it out halfway under this wall stud and put a new piece across there. So while this piece is cut out and these are cut out up to here or so, there won't be anything right there. So I can bring my refrigerator, lay it down, and slide it in on the floor, because the new plywood and everything will be there. Then I can just lay it down and slide it in there and stand it up and then get it situated. And I'll probably make a video showing how I'll do that. But this worked out real good. That way I don't have to try to mangle my siding metal. And originally I was going to do it on this side, and you can see why I really did not want to do it on this side, because of this. This is a vent panel for the refrigerator. That's where the refrigerator goes. And all of this stuff, I would have had to have taken that off or something. And so I decided I was going to do it on this side anyway. And but it all worked out. It's all working out kind of by the grace of God fairly well. Now I'm going to put this camera back in here. I'll just go ahead and shut the camera off and finish getting my joist screwed down. And after I get the rim joist situated in and out to where I want it, then I'll get my piece of plywood and put it down. Well, I've got new insulation that I'm going to put in between down there. And then I'll get my piece of plywood down, and then my floor will be ready to finish prepping for new linoleum or laminate, whatever I do. I think I'll probably just go ahead and do linoleum, even though this plywood here is in rough shape. But no bigger area than it is. It's just going to be from here back to right behind where the vacuum cleaner's setting. You can see wherever you can see the plywood, that's where to go to. And so no more than that, and no more than this will get used. Even if I do some extensive road trips, just new linoleum will probably outlast me. So